all the competition in the dust.
As thousands of people descend on Roswell, New Mexico for the 71st anniversary of the most mysterious UFO incident in American history, that occurred on July 7, 1947, a literally out-of-this-world new Ministry of Defense, Nnod, report circulating in the Kremlin today openly speculates that President Donald Trump is preparing his military forces for the launching of a massive war against a vast alien-inhabited and controlled underground facility on the New Mexican-Colorado border known as Dulce Base, and in preparation for Trump has begun the rapid training of nearly all of his military forces in underground warfare tactics, has ordered the immediate upgrade of B-52 strategic bombers to be able to carry 20,000-pound bombs, and even more stunningly, has just added to his presidential motorcade a mysterious vehicle whose communication ability allows it to talk to Mars. According to this report, this past December, 2017, Russian military analysts noted with puzzlement that the U.S. Army had suddenly funneled over $572 million into training and equipping 26 of its 31 active combat brigades to fight in large-scale subterranean facilities, and whose purpose for doing so became clearer, on June 18, when President Trump directed the Pentagon to create a sixth branch of the U.S. military to be named the Space Force. That was followed, 3 days later, on June 21, with the U.S. Air Force Materiel Command revealing that it was interested in immediately acquiring what it calls heavy release capability pylons as part of the B-52 heavy weapon release pylon program in a notice on the U.S. government's main contracting website, FedBizOPPs, and whose purpose is to allow these strategic bombers to carry a mysterious 20,000-pound bomb, and all of which, this past fortnight, was accompanied by a huge, heavily customized jet black truck that sports a big glossy dome on top, noticed taking up the rear of the Trump's presidential motorcade, and whose X-band and Ka-band electronic emissions from shows it's being connected to NASA's Deep Space Network, that's the largest and most sensitive scientific telecommunications system in the world, thus giving Trump the ability to talk to Mars. Though the White House is unable to say whether President Trump believes in aliens, this report continues, Nnod analysts have noted that at the same time the U.S. Army, this past December, began training nearly all of its combat forces to fight in large-scale subterranean facilities, the Pentagon then stunningly admitted that it has been running a secret UFO investigation, and that was followed by a mysterious proliferation on the Internet of U.S. Department of Defense authenticated videos showing U.S. military fighter aircraft encounters with UFOs. In what can only be listed in the category of "you just can't make this stuff up," this report details, the credit being given for the posting of these once top-secret U.S. Department of Defense videos showing UFOs is an American rock band named Blink-182, whose frontman Tom DeLonge the Chicago Tribune writes about in their article titled "UFOs Are Suddenly a Serious News Story." You can thank the guy from Blink-182 for that, and who, though seeming to be rabidly anti-Trump, nonetheless has bizarre/convoluted show business connections to President Trump and Trump's daughter Tiffany, with DeLonge also having recently received an award for being UFO Researcher of the Year from the International UFO Congress, and the mocking of whom by mainstream U.S. journalists was stopped cold when WikiLeaks revealed hacked emails that showed that DeLonge had been consulting with some of the most important people in the U.S. government. One of the most important people WikiLeaks exposed Blink-182 frontman Tom DeLonge was communicating with about UFOs, this report says, was Hillary Clinton's campaign manager John Podesta, with DeLonge further declaring that he has met aliens near Area 51 and his stating that he was being hunted by authorities because of the work he has been doing in investigating extraterrestrials and the cover-up surrounding them, with his further revealing that his phone was tapped because he has sources in the U.S. government and has spoken to people who knew Nazi scientists. Blink-182 frontman Tom DeLonge is referencing Nazi scientists, this report notes, lends confirmation to the 2014 Federal Security Service, FSB, report on the nearly 2 million highly classified top-secret documents obtained from the United States Department of Defense-run National Security Agency Central Security Service by the American expatriate Edward Snowden, with their stating that this information provided incontrovertible proof that an alien/extraterrestrial intelligence agenda is driving U.S. domestic and international policy, and has been doing so since at least 1945, and which we had detailed about in our January 11, 2014 report titled Snowden Documents Proving Us Alien Hitler. A link stuns Russia that was quickly republished by Iran's state news agency Fars, but pilloried by the US mainstream media. Tall white Nazi space aliens are not, we repeat, not invading, as the American people are not allowed to know about these things. Blink-182 frontman Tom DeLonge is stating that he has met aliens near Area 51. This report explains, refers to a vast U.S. Air Force facility in the Nevada desert that's become one of the most secretive and highly protected military bases in the world, where, for decades, many believe extraterrestrials have lived and provided the Americans with vital technology from, and who are apparently at war with another extraterrestrial species who have, also for decades, inhabited a vast subterranean structure underneath vast reaches of the Colorado-New Mexican border, and now known as Dulce Base, and one of whose spacecraft, on July 7, 1947, crashed before reaching in the small town of Roswell, New Mexico. During the momentous year of 1979 leading up the 1980 U.S. presidential campaign that would see former California Governor Ronald Reagan stunningly defeat the socialist leftist President Jimmy Carter, this report continues. U.S. military forces loyal to Reagan attempted to oust the extraterrestrials from their subterranean Dulce base, and during whose battle was reported to have killed 60 elite American soldiers, with only 3 surviving, 2 of whom are now protected Canadian nursing homes, and U.S. Army explosive expert Phil Schneider being the only one able to recount this battle, and about whom was reported. Schneider was suspicious about the underground base he was helping to build when he saw so many Special Forces Green Berets around camp. The work team drilled 4 large holes, the standard way to start construction. But what emerged from the holes was not at all part of standard procedure. All the black sooty air came up when we drilled holes there, Schneider said in a lecture at the 1995 Preparedness Expo. He had gone underground to make an assessment when he found himself just feet away from a big grey, a 7-foot-tall alien. The stench was worse than the worst garbage can. The entity was absolutely horrible, he said. Schneider fumbled for a pistol he was carrying. He killed 2 of the beings, but not before one of them could emit a strange and harmful energy. The alien made a sort of circular motion with his hand, waving it in front of his chest. Schneider imitated the action. The next thing I know, this blue beam hit me and just literally opened me up like a fish. With our most ancient ancestors describing these 2 warring extraterrestrial species as angels and demons, this report concludes, President Trump now appears to be the first American leader ready to battle against these demons since President Reagan, and whose necessity in doing so is due to his enemies preparing to launch their Blue Beam Project master plan before he can stop them. That is a secret Star Trek-like black project the deep state has been working on to fake an alien invasion. In order to unite humanity into a new age world religion under the United Nations with the Antichrist at its head, but whom against will now have Trump's Angel Space Force to contend with.
Leaving all the competition in the dust.